The Slave Deeds Projects gives our students a chance to work with primary documents in a way that they probably can't in a lot of other contexts, because these are primary documents that really have yet to be analyzed and worked with. So they are like, the genuine artifact. And working with these documents provides an opportunity for students to connect what's happening today to what's happened in the past in Buncombe County and in Asheville, which brings history right home to them.
The students are filling in historical gaps, and they are working very closely with the historical record to learn more about slavery in Western North Carolina.
This is a narrative that is not often told in our history books and almost can't be told because a lot of the people who are identified in these slave deeds do not have a genealogical narrative attached to their names. And so this project, asking students to be a part of a project where they are transcribing documents, adding to a national database of names of slaves and where they've moved, the migration of slaves and the sale of slaves, is literally creating a narrative out of historical fact.
The impact of that narrative is not lost on the Office of the Register of Deeds, who unearthed the book and digitized the record.
These records are powerful. I think when people see them, very often they get emotional, and it is the story of another time that is hard for us to understand. And I felt like it was important for us to make sure we're putting out accurate information as to what was happening. And if you've got these primary source documents that say who these people were, how much they were being sold for, and potentially what their lives might have looked like, I think it needs to be available so we have a better understanding of what slavery truly looked like. A bill of sale from Joseph Whitson to Millsap Whitson for a Negro girl named Melinda, dated the 20th day of July, 1842, was duly acknowledged in open court, and the maker thereof, and ordered to be registered.
Slave labor was different in the mountains than it was in the Piedmont or in the low country. A lot of tourism. People came up here even in the 1800s to get out of the heat of Charleston and Atlanta, and folks would come spend the summer here. They would stay in hotels, so a lot of labor was around the tourism industry, especially hotels and food and those kind of things. There was gold mining, there was road building, there was railroad building, some farms, but farms were small here. Factory work, the Confederate Armory was in part run on slave labor.
Sarah Gudger is one such slave from Western North Carolina whose story has been documented by the Library of Congress and whose slave deed has since been discovered.
We knew that Sarah was owned for a time by the Hemphills in Burke County, and Drew was able to find her deed. So now we have an eyewitness account, we have a photograph, we have an address, and we have her record of being sold from Hemphill to ownership here in Buncombe County.
This project has had a profound effect on students as well.
And all of a sudden they start to dig into it like true social scientists, trying to unearth what does this piece say and how does this connect to what I know about my community. So it's really rich, and the engagement level is really high.
You're looking at it and you really start to think about it and you learn more about, well, when you learn more about it, it just kind of like makes you get this weird pit in your stomach, because you're always aware, you always know, but it's a good way of like opening your mind up and creating more realization, which everyone should have.
But Deborah Miles says this type of work has a deeper impact, and it can help shape a student's development well beyond the classroom.
Learning to connect with history is a developmental process that young people go through. I think this initial exposure is a way to make history real to students, because not only are they reading a primary source document, they are at a point in time where they are doing history. They are contributing to the historical narrative, and they're learning something about their fellow classmates and their families and their community that you can't read a chapter in a history book and answer the questions at the end of it and get that same understanding of what does it mean to be a human being, what does it mean to be an American citizen in the 21st century. what are our choices as we move forward.
Making history alive and relevant is what the Slave Deeds Project is all about. For public servant Drew Reisinger, that also means making those documents available to the public.
I think the country has a duty to make these documents more available, so they're not just sitting on county courthouse shelves collecting dust so no one can ever see them. There's a role of elected officials where I think we need to be responsible for the documents that we have, for their historic preservation, but also for the transparency of what the documents actually say.
And it's about relating a part of our history that can be hard to understand.
Any human reading about a person their age or a person the age of their younger brother, younger sister being owned by somebody else tells the truth of that story, that ownership of humans is a crime, and slavery was a crime against those people who were just like us in lots and lots of ways. So that humanizing effect of these deeds for students, and therefore understanding history, is really important. And so that's what that work brings home for them.